Welcome to another episode of Let's Wine, Stories Uncorked. And today I have the distinct privilege of presenting Let's Wine from Singapore. And I have my newest friend, Anu Gupta, director at APRW, our partner agency. We're both members as Square Root Marketing and Anu's agency, part of IPREX, and we're here for the IPREX Global Conference. Welcome, Anu.
Thank you, Andrea, and welcome to Singapore.
Oh, thank you. Well, what a pleasure to have you as a guest. It's truly an honor. It's my first time in Singapore, and I am in awe in regards to everything that I've seen so far. And I know this conference, it will be full of energy and new ideas. But what better way to start our week than cheering with some wine from Bali?
That's right.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. So I know I usually am the one who picks the wines, but this time you pick the wine. Tell me why specifically this wine.
I insisted to pick this.
Yes.
So again, Bali, Indonesia is very close to my heart, and our part is the only other place outside Singapore where we opened an office in 2020, and I end up going back to Indonesia very often and understand the place back and beyond. So this is one of my favorite brands, and I keep bringing it back to Singapore. So that's the story of why we have an Indonesian wine.
Wow, fantastic. And I hear that white wines are your favorite, right?
That's right.
Wow, this is amazing. Very, very, it has like a fruity kick at the end.
Yeah. It's sweet and right. So
yeah.
They're one of the most popular brands.
Wow, this is amazing. So Anu, why don't you share with our audience a little bit about your story? Because your story, it's truly remarkable. You have been an entrepreneur twice in your career, and it all started with the name Watermelon. And tell me about that story, how you became an entrepreneur being so young.
Well, I think when you're young, you're also foolish and you're naive. Watermelon happened to me in Dubai, which is almost, I would say, 25 years ago. Interestingly, Watermelon was also an IPREX partner. And I basically was convinced or conned by a dear friend who runs Watermelon now. His name is Pradeep. And this was a very different Dubai at that point where, there was no tallest building of the world. It was back in 2004. There were a lot of Indian companies and Indian brands who were expanding into the Middle East, and I had moved from India to Dubai. So, he was a journalist, and he convinced me that just do it for yourself, don't do it for someone. And I'll support you and we can make this happen. So again, grew very fast. Within 2 years, I had 15 people, and I think I was a terrible boss to the 15 people that I had. But again, I think that part of my journey, I probably did it because I just didn't think too much, right? I just went with the flow and never, questioned why I was doing what I was doing. And that's probably why Watermelon.
Wow, what an amazing story. And then something that really resonated with me and left me really thinking, it's how you, every decade of your life, you build a different chapter. And I'm soon going to be 49 years of age. And it got me thinking, wow, how am I going to write? What's going to be my story in my 50s? But tell me what happened after you left Dubai. What was the story there?
So again, we were at Dubai for about 6 years, and then Singapore happened to us in 2008. And I was in my 30s when we moved here. And never in my life had I been to Singapore before that. So when I came here, everything seemed different, yet similar to Dubai. And having been in Australia, I think you also get a bit spoiled. I'm sure it's the case with you too. You don't want to have a boss on top of your head, kind of get used to doing things yourself. So that was a big challenge when I came in, because I said, I'm not going to work for someone. And the market didn't even know me. I didn't know the market. So it was very clear nothing's going to happen for me for about 5 years.
When you moved with your family, you didn't know anybody? Not a single thing?
Yeah. We had just one friend, we knew from Indian, but I knew absolutely no one here. And again, I think probably we were adventurous and we just felt that this would be a better place to bring up family, to bring up kids and kind of grow old. That's the, perception that Singapore has always had. It's very, very family friendly. It's very safe. And I think that was the magnet that brought us here 18 years back, right? So that's how that whole journey in Singapore started.
Wow. And it's been 18 years. So this is home now. Yeah. Oh, and what a story of reinvention and that you're teaching your girls, right? And then came the chapter of APRW. And tell us a little bit about that chapter. How did it all get started? With a very, very specific question that you asked of your future partners at the time. And what was that experience like?
Yeah, so again, Andrea, I believed a lot in being at the right time, at the right place, and for right things to happen. Right? And the way APRW happened to me was also, again, just not something that I went after, or it just happened, right? And there was some dots that connected, and I walked through this door. And this is a very old institution. It turns 30 years old this year. And so it's one of the oldest communication agencies in Singapore. And when I walked in, I was clearly told that the way the model works is you have to buy shares, you have to become a partner, and you have to just build your own business. So it just felt, like a dream come true because I didn't need to walk that journey by myself. I had done that in Dubai. I was hitting my 40s at that point, and it just felt that it might be easier to do this with people around me rather than doing it myself. So I think that was the first instinct that came to mind. The second was, as comms people, very rarely you see a combination of people or a collective or organization where people are working together in a model like this. You see this in law firms, you don't see this in communication agencies. So that was, again, a bit of curiosity on, I've been a single owner with one partner, and I've gone through that experience, but I'd like to go through this where there are multiple owners on the table and life sucks and sometimes your ideas just don't fly. Yeah. Right. So you learn to even accept that. So I think these were two reasons that pulled me in here and said that I'd probably like to see the second phase of my life working with, partners around me and see where this journey takes me. And I remember, very instinctively saying that I was 40 and I'd like to give this 15 years of my life and retire from here and walk out. So I have another 5 to go. I'm done 10. Yeah. So not
yeah, that's fantastic. And you're all women?
Yes, that's right. We are, again, we've never seen it that way. And I think it's never been something that's crossed anyone's mind that, we are, all women sitting here and doing this. But I think it's also a big part of the industry we come from where we do notice globally, there tend to be more women doing communications rather than men. So I don't know if it's a virtue of that, but yes, we are.
Wow, that's fantastic. So let's shift gears to wine for a moment, because this wine is just fantastic. What's your favorite wine?
Hutton definitely. And there's an Indian brand which I love as well. And of course, I only go for the wine. And I'm actually not even fussy. I can just have anything as long as it's a glass of wine.
As long as a glass of wine. So we share that love for wine. Some of the most exciting memories, it's whether it's a meeting with a friend or a celebration, it's over a glass of wine, right? So it's all about celebration. What a way to celebrate with wine. And one story that I would love for you to share with our audience, who most of our audience, it's based out of America, but hopefully we'll get many listeners here in Asia, many of your many followers, how you just went and opened a subsidiary of APRW in Indonesia. Tell us that story. How do you do that?
Well, again, I wish I had a very exciting story to tell you. But I think, for people like us who run independent agencies and, we've been doing it for years, we all know that, clients come in through, and stay because there's a very strong relationship. We bring value to the table and they see this as a long-term partnership. So I think, again, as much as we've always had the ambitions that we want to be across Asia, we want to be across Southeast Asia, I think we're also very practical and very realistic that this is a very fragmented region. It is very different. Every country is very different. So it's great to see dreams, but not all dreams come true, right? So Indonesia purely happened to us because it's the closest and the largest economy next to Singapore. It's a massive consumer tech market. And Singapore has witnessed a huge digital revolution in the last 10 years.
Right.
So a lot of startups and tech companies from here always look at Indonesia as their first market to go and explore consumer expansion. So we had clients who were basically growing that, and they would just say that I'd like you guys to do the work, and it was, I would say, a bit of curiosity that took me there in 2017, and me and my team would just keep going up and down, attend media conferences, have partners do that work for us. And I think somewhere down the line there was different levels of energy before COVID, which we all had. There was a bit of that spark that maybe this is destiny for us, and there's a reason why we are going back, and this is meant to happen. And maybe this is the logical reason of why, we need to expand into Indonesia. And that led to the decision of setting up that office in 2020. And again,
the year of the pandemic. You're brave. Yes.
So we set it up in Jan 2020. And when the pandemic came, we started looking at the sky and telling ourselves, oh my God, what have we done? Right? But it wasn't a huge investment. Existing clients continued to engage. And we said we'll address this once the pandemic finishes and leaves and goes, right? And we picked threads of it in 2022 and decided that if we're doing it, let's do it right.
Right.
And you have multiple offices as well, right? As I think we choose to, spend that time and give that energy if it's going to lead to something, then right? And I think just the way you've grown, in multiple markets, we tried the same thing with Indonesia. And again, I think it's destiny that things work. Yeah. I love the place. I love the people. And it kept drawing me back. And I think that led to our growth in that market.
Wow, that's amazing. And you have a growing team there, of 8 professionals or so, and it continues to grow and expand. That's fantastic, Anu. But you've done all of this while being a mom, to beautiful girls. You share with our audience, Anu, the ups and the downs of doing it all. Relocating from one country to another, starting over. How do you do it?
No, I think when you're younger, you are a lot more liquid, right? And I think you kind of are ready to take on new experiences. And I think, I call it the sponge effect. So you kind of keep absorbing what you're getting. And I think at that point, that change was great because, ultimately this became home for all of us. And we all became extremely comfortable where we are. India continues to be a part of, my life at my home because family continues to be there. I continue to keep, traveling between India and Singapore. So again, I think Singapore becomes a melting pot, being here because I'm able to access going back home easily. I'm also able to navigate, the region very easily sitting here. So there was a bit of, this feels like a comfortable place to be. As I was bringing up the girls, I think you're a mom too. I don't think there's a perfect formula to anything. And I also believe there is no balance. You wake up every morning and tell yourself, what do I need to balance today?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There is no balance. It's imperfect balance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the faster you accept that, it becomes a lot easier to deal with it. And every day you decide, what your priorities are. And if today your kids need you, then you're there. And if tomorrow your work needs you, then you're there.
Yeah.
And I think as people who run their own businesses, I think that's the freedom and the flexibility we give ourselves. I always tell people that's worth $1 million, which, doesn't show on paper, but, at the times when you're needed, you can show up.
Yeah.
And you don't need to ask anyone anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's been something that's, been very powerful to me in bringing up my girls and, qualitatively being there for them rather than quantitatively, right? And also making them a part of the journey of things that I'm going through.
Yes.
There are days I go back and tell them, bro, life sucks. Today was a bad day, right? And for them to know that it's normal. You could have a bad day too, and you could tell me that. And I think having that open conversation has helped me to, they're not my friends, let's be very clear. Yeah, I'm not their friend. But again, I think there's a lot of honesty on the table. They can see that, nothing comes easily. There's a lot of hard work that's required. But again, we can have fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's been my motto as I brought them up, and also for them to be really open that there's a whole world out there, right? You've spent your entire life in Singapore.
Yeah.
But Singapore doesn't need to be the only place where you need to be, and hence exposing them to my trips to Jakarta, to Indonesia. They go with me, and they are comfortable in their skin being there with me, right? And that makes me happy.
And I think your oldest is following on your footsteps, right? Is that right?
I don't know if it's my footsteps, but yes, she has chosen to do a summer internship in Bali.
Yes.
She's studying to be an architect, and she could have very easily done it here in Singapore. But it was her choice to say that, is it all right if I do it somewhere else? And the somewhere else that she mentioned was Bali or, somewhere in Indonesia. So which I think is, as a 19-year-old, oh, absolutely, I'll make sure that, you're protected, and I'll make sure that you're safe. But if you can get that exposure in a different country and in a different culture, I think as a mother, I've tried to do my best in keeping you to be a very open-minded person. And that's the most important thing.
Wow, that's certainly amazing. Well, cheers to that.
No, thank you.
Cheers to that. Now, Anu, let's for a moment, for our audience, and I've been really mesmerized by what I've seen in the last couple of days. Why Singapore? Why Singapore? It's a good alternative for business, especially as companies are looking into expanding to other emerging markets. We have a number of companies, clients in the US and Latin America, and I would love to take the message as to why, especially Southeast Asia, it's a good choice, and why Singapore.
No, absolutely, and thanks for bringing up that question, right? And I think we've all seen the challenge that, Singapore has, tried to bring into the region, and the focus that it's tried to bring into this region, right? There are facts there for all of us to see on how big a region this is, how diverse we are, how big consumer markets are. I think that's something that's very simple, and people can read numbers and they can figure it out. But I think Singapore has made itself a gateway into the region. And when I say the region goes beyond Southeast Asia, right? It goes all the way up to North Asia, and then there's, on the other side, there's India, then China. These are all very complex markets. When you go in, language is a barrier, the culture is a barrier. But you fit in Singapore, and you can see how easy it is for someone to come in. Yes. Even as a tourist, for you to find your way around, everything works well, right? So I think Singapore has really tried to make that process very easy for companies. Everything is black and white. And I think this becomes a good point for companies to come in and springboard into the region from here, and which is what we are seeing, and which is also the reason why IPREX reached out to us 6 years back, right, to say that we'd like to have an agency in Singapore because we see that's valuable to our partners sitting in the other region.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I understand why you need a good, chill glass of white wine, because here the heat is worse than in Miami. I have to say, the humidity, especially, right? Now I understand the reasoning behind the white wine. Very chill, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Anu. Now let's talk for a moment about IPREX. We have been members of IPREX for a year, and it has been really a transformative experience. You're the president of IPREX for the Asian region. Share with our audience truly the value that it gives as agencies, independent agencies, being part of a global network. Why is it? Because it's not just a membership. To me, it has become a community, my go-to board, my go-to team of peers, where I find resources, where my team has found opportunities for development. So I would love for our audience to know a little bit more from your perspective. You've been here longer than I have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our 6th year in IPREX, and we've never been part of any other network before we walked into IPREX. And even when we walked into IPREX, we never knew IPREX, right? And it was a pure blind date that we had through Zoom, and we said, oh, I think they look interesting, and let's go and explore.
Right.
I think what ultimately we discovered, and again, I must admit, it happened at a conference in Amsterdam in 2022, just the way that you're here. I went, as part of the first conference to event. And when I sat in that room, I think one thing became very clear. We are with like-minded people. I think that's the first, right? That we need to be sitting in a room with like-minded people. It needs to be a safe space for people like, you and me to learn, to share. We're not competing with each other. So there's no fear of us sharing anything. I think, and be part of exchanging business and giving business to each other, for us, that's a secondary objective, right? And we came in because my partners always say that we harm siblings, through IPREX, and our siblings are everywhere across the world. So that's the way we've seen IPREX grow for us. And, friendships, which again, you've seen over the last few days, what it's been like. I think even putting Singapore on the map to say, let's do a conference here, takes a lot for people to fly down. Although it's very far, you flew 25 hours to get here.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And it's not easy, but there's a whole world here that we want people to come and see, for you to be able to take it back, to your clients and to your community. So IPREX for us has really been that, I would say, the safety net and that safe space, where we're able to share, we're able to learn, and we're really able to support each other. And personally, for me, sitting on that board the last 2 years, I always, in Singapore, we call it co-curricular activities. So it's called the CCA.
Okay.
Which was, you get paid for it, but you still have to do it, right? And I think I have made some very deep friendships, sitting on that board. I've learned a lot from other leaders who are running their own agencies. And we're all navigating our own lives at this point and facing different challenges. So when you hear a different perspective, I think it gives you, it just opens your eyes to the world. It tells you that, there's a whole world out there, there's a lot of other opportunities out there, and we just learn from each other. Okay. So that's really what the value of IPREX has been, to us. And I'm hoping it will be the same for you as you carry on.
Yeah, it already has been, and I'm looking forward to continue being part, and it's truly about the engagement, right? We'll continue building the engagement, not just myself, but my team members, right? Making it extensive. And so what's next for the agency the rest of the year? Because the rest of 2026, we still have a good number of quarters left throughout the year. 2026. What's in store? Or
I mean, to be honest, Andrea, I don't think we think so much. I think it's exciting because this is our 30th year. And I don't think it's easy for any agency to do 30 years in a country like Singapore, which is so right? So I definitely see that as, oh, wow, guys. I wake up every morning and remind ourselves that, oh, wow, we've come this far. I think the other part is now for us to see that how do the next 30 years, what's it going to be like for APRW, right? I'm surely not going to be there the next 30 years, but it's also what you want to leave behind, what you want the next generation to take, right? And can we make Indonesia to just stand on its own, right? And keep that as an independent entity that can run on its own. So I think for us, again, the good part is we don't plan too much into the future. But the other part is, I think because we are 7 of us at the table, it's always a collective decision of what we think we need to be doing and how we need to be doing that. And it's always majority that way, right? And my husband jokes that I'm so glad that all your ideas don't get taken now. and you come out of that saying, it's okay if people don't listen to me. But I think that's the beauty of sitting on that table with multiple owners, right? And then you will always do something which is right for the agency, and it may not be right for you, but it's right for the organization. So I think we have started reflecting on that, and just seeing how we can work on that.
And I love what you mentioned about the power of the collectiveness and what's good for the organization as a whole, for the stakeholders. I am a big fan of country music, U.S. country music. Believe it or not, I am. And Tim McGraw has a song titled "My Next 30 Years." And I'm going to share it with you because it's very profound lyrics. And he reflects on, he turns 30 on the sun. So he projects how he's going to live his next 30 years. And what would you say to the 30-year-old, the 20-year-old Anu, when she was founding her agency, Watermelon, when she was living in Dubai, learning a new country, a new culture? What would you tell her, that young Anu?
I think I'd probably just do what I did, to be honest. And, again, maybe there was, the first 15 years of my life when I wouldn't think so much about decisions that I need to take and things I need to do. And that probably is what got me this, right? Because I never planned anything and never, did things say, for what is this, ultimately going to get me, right? It was always about having short-term goals. Let me go get those short-term goals, and those goals will take me to a longer goal, right? And that's the way I've navigated life. I think even to a 20-year-old, I mean, I almost have a 20-year-old in my house, so it's as good as like telling, well, I mean, I almost have a 20-year-old sitting at home now, right? So I think it's about telling, and again, every character is different, every, person's nature is different. So I don't expect her to become me. But I think just in today's world, just being open-minded to doing different things, being in different places, I think that's what shaped me, to really become who I am. Failures come our way. I'm sure you face it too, right? And we don't go back home and sweat about it, or, we just say it and we move on. And so you almost know that I have a 20-year-old at home, right? And as much as people are, different in nature, we are both very different people, but, it's about telling our kids to have an open mind, be able to try new things. The world is changing. You and I know that. And, you could be anywhere for any opportunity. And if I'm able to even instill that, right, I think that's sufficient for me. And that's probably what got me this far, that, I didn't think and overthink, what's going to lead me to a next step, and just went with the flow. And I think that automatically, kind of gets you into new experiences, and then you navigate and you figure out. So in fact, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece of advice, Anu. And how are you going to celebrate? With what wine are you going to celebrate the agency's 30th anniversary?
No, and again, to be honest, I don't think there'll be one big celebration, and which is again something that, we really thought through a lot of it. Should we have that one big party, or should we do a few in the year? And honestly, all of you being here is kickstarting that whole process for us, right? So this is the first big party that we are going to have, which is all the IPREX partners being here. And we wish to do, few things through the year. We're gathering all our alumni who, worked with us over the 30 years. Or we don't even know who worked with us 25 years back, 26 years back. So we've invited everyone here one evening in June. So that's the second celebration we're looking forward to. So I think, again, for us, I think when you're done in 10, 15, 20, you kind of mature as each of those years counts. And we've had those big parties some years back, and none of us want those big parties anymore, right? And we rather do few meaningful things like this, where we feel that, we kind of enjoy this process with the different communities that we've built over the years, right? And that's the motivate.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And to close our conversation, which I don't want to, because it's wonderful. I've learned so much. What advice do you have for our fellow female entrepreneurs who are part of our audience? Our audience is majority female listeners. What advice do you have for them? Maybe they're at an inflection point where they may want to take a break. Maybe they're trying to scale and build a business. Maybe they're thinking of taking a different career path. What words of wisdom, what pearls of wisdom do you have for them?
I think you're the inspiration, Andrea, and you had so many female listeners. So I don't think I'm going to inspire anyone, but I must say that I think I was at a place of choice when I took these decisions, and that's something that I didn't forget. And I'm very grateful and thankful that if I was able to take a 5-year gap as a mom and spend time with my girls, and feel good about coming back to work after those 5 years, even feel good those 5 years being at home. Right? I think they're two different worlds to be in. But they were really, I think they came to me because I was extremely lucky and I was able to make those choices and move. Also had a very, very supportive family that, always made me feel good about my decisions, right? Never made me feel like making the wrong choices. So I think for anybody out there, I think having a support system is really important. You cannot survive without a support system. When I went here, I had no family and I had no friends, right? And to even be able to build that around me of who are going to be my go-to people for me to call. If there's a medical emergency, it's something I need. And over the years, you get over it because you don't need anything, right? But I think having those champions around you who really, whether they are friends, whether they are your family, whoever they may be, I think that's important for anyone, whether you're male or female. That's the first, right? And the second is, again, I never, given too much deep thought into something that I want to do. If my instinct tells me that, this is something that I think I'm comfortable in and I want to try it, I always try it. And I'm okay to fail, right? And okay to tell myself that this did not work out.
Yeah.
And I think that's a learning to have. And I think what we've created in Indonesia, purely for me is that, right? We said 0 to 1 of not having anything and just telling ourselves to keep going. And then someday it's going to take us somewhere. And I think it's the same for you, right? And that's how you've grown well across markets, because you've seen that opportunity. And you just keep going till it's valuable and it feels, and it gives you a good feeling.
Yeah.
So I think I look for that good feeling at the end of any day.
Yeah.
Saying if this is a good feeling, then it's.
Yeah. I love how you're framing it. Learning to trust our instincts that are so powerful, and learning that failure is okay, and we don't need to always be right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something I've learned sitting on that table with my 6 other partners, right? That it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to say something there which is not accepted.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the change that's come in me the last 10 years, which I probably didn't have in my watermelon phase, where I always thought I was right.
Yeah.
Right. So So this is what I probably will come out of APRW, where I'll just accept that, yeah, sometimes I'm just wrong. Is it right?
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I honor you, I celebrate you, and I applaud you. So cheers to what you built over the years and what you will continue to build over the many years to come as an entrepreneur, as a female leader. So cheers.
So cheers, and please enjoy Singapore.
I will.
Please eat a lot of Singaporean food and enjoy the warmth and hospitality of the country and have a great, fantastic IPREX Conference.
Yeah. And thank you so much for hosting us, for allowing our podcast to be held here at your home. We are so grateful. And I have an open invitation for you and your team. May of 2027, IPREX. We will be hosting IPREX in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and we'll have lots of wine. It's one of the world capitals of wine. So I'm so looking forward to seeing you there.
It's already in my calendar. And I've had my daughters telling me that you better go if it's in Argentina. So I think there's a lot of excitement. So I'm pretty sure that I will do my best and try to be there next May.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, cheers. 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 Let's wine.